You are not supposed to be king. You are the second son, the spare, the afterthought, the one they never trained for the throne. Then your brother dies. And in one afternoon, everything you were built for stops mattering. Over the next 55 years, you will marry 6 women. You will execute 2 of them. You will break with the most powerful religious institution on earth and rewrite what a king is even allowed to be. This is your life as Henry VIII. Your name is Henry, Duke of York. You are the second son of King Henry VII, and you are not the future king. Your brother Arthur is. Arthur gets the Tudors in statecraft. Arthur gets the marriage alliance with Spain. You get music, languages, theology, archery, an education built for a clever nobleman, not a monarch. Nobody is preparing you to rule because you are the insurance policy, the backup plan nobody wants to need. Then, in April 1502, Arthur dies at Ludlow Castle. Sweating sickness. 15 years old. You feel the entire court's eyes shift onto you in a single afternoon. Overnight, you go from spare to heir. There is no manual for this. Nobody retrains you. You are simply told, you are next, and you spend the rest of your childhood being reshaped into a king in a hurry. April 1509. Your father dies after a long, cautious, miserly reign. And at 17, you are crowned King of England. The country celebrates like it's been holding its breath for years. Because it has. Your father hoarded, feared plots, executed men on suspicion alone. You are young, athletic, generous to the point of recklessness. You give away his fortune within months just to prove you're nothing like him. Weeks after your coronation, you marry Catherine of Aragon, your dead brother's widow. It required a special dispensation from the Pope, since marrying a brother's wife technically broke church law. Right now, that detail feels like paperwork. You have no idea it will come back for you in 20 years and unravel everything. For now, you are simply the golden prince of Europe, jousting, hunting, composing music, dazzling ambassadors. You believe completely that your life will be easy. You want glory. Real glory. The kind your father never chased and never gave you. You invade France in 1513. You win small, forgettable battles and call them legendary triumphs. You spend fortunes your father spent a lifetime carefully saving, because a full treasury means nothing to a king who wants to be remembered. And at home, a different battle is being fought. One you can't win by charging at it. Catherine is pregnant again and again. A stillborn daughter. A son who lives only 52 days. More stillbirths. Only one child survives infancy, a daughter, Mary. You are 30 years old, and the one thing you need most as a king, a living son, an heir, a guarantee that your line continues, is the one thing you cannot force into existence no matter how many battles you win. For an ordinary man, this is private grief. For you, it is quietly becoming a national emergency with your name on it. You start to believe something is wrong. Not with your marriage, but with God's judgment of it. Leviticus says a man who marries his brother's wife will be childless. You had one detail conveniently in your favor. Catherine wasn't childless, just sonless. You choose not to dwell on that distinction. You take a mistress, Bessie Blount, who gives you a healthy son. Proof, you decide, that the problem isn't you. It's her. It's the marriage. It's divine punishment for a marriage that should never have needed a pope's permission in the first place. You start calling it the king's great matter. Advisors spend years trying to get Rome to annul a marriage the pope himself once approved. Wolsey, your most powerful minister, fails to deliver it, and falls from grace for that failure alone. You are learning, rank by rank, that when a king wants something badly enough, he stops asking whether he's allowed to have it. Then you meet her. Anne Boleyn. She refuses to be your mistress. She wants to be your wife. Nothing less, no compromise. So you stop asking the Pope. You decide the Pope himself is the obstacle, not the authority. In 1534, you break from Rome entirely. You declare yourself supreme head of the Church of England. Not just king, but the highest religious authority in your own country. Monasteries are stripped, their wealth seized, their buildings gutted. Men who refuse to swear you're above the Pope are executed for treason, including Thomas More, once your friend, once your Lord Chancellor. You didn't just get a divorce. You rewrote what a king is even allowed to be. You marry Anne. She gives you a daughter, Elizabeth. not the son you tore a country's religion apart for. 3 years later, on charges historians still argue were partly invented, you have her beheaded by a swordsman brought specially from France. This is the rank where you learn the most dangerous truth of absolute power. When no one is left who can tell you no, nothing stops you from becoming the worst version of yourself. 11 days after Anne's execution, you're engaged to Jane Seymour. Within a year, she gives you the one thing 3 marriages couldn't: a living son. Edward. For the first time in decades, you have exactly what you needed. The bells ring across London for days. 12 days later, Jane is dead from childbirth complications. You will later ask to be buried beside her, the only wife, out of 6, you never had killed, divorced, or discarded. You finally got the thing you'd broken a church for, and it cost you the one wife you might have actually loved. By your late 40s, a jousting injury from years earlier has become a wound that will never close. It weeps constantly. It reeks. Courtiers learn to hide their disgust in front of you, because disgusting the king is dangerous. You marry Anne of Cleves based on a flattering portrait, sight unseen. When you finally meet her in person, you're so repulsed you can barely perform your role as her husband. You annul the marriage within 6 months and call the whole arrangement humiliating, as if the humiliation were something that happened to you. Then you marry Catherine Howard, a teenager not yet 20, while you're approaching 50 and can barely walk unaided. She has affairs. When you find out, you don't feel betrayed so much as exposed. An old, rotting king outmaneuvered by a girl a third his age. You have her executed too. 2 wives, 2 executions. You are starting to notice that the common variable in every failed marriage is never you. You marry once more, Catherine Parr, a widow twice over, sensible and careful with you in a way none of the others managed. She will be the one wife who survives you. But by now, the damage to your body and your temperament is permanent. Your leg wound won't heal. You weigh over 300 pounds. You're carried between rooms in a specially built chair because your own legs can no longer be trusted with your weight. The court fears you more than it loves you. Advisors are executed for saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment. Sometimes for nothing at all, just a rumor, a suspicion, a bad rumor about your temper reaching the wrong ears. Catherine Parr herself narrowly avoids arrest for religious opinions that displeased you, saved only by her own quick thinking. You have everything a man could want: 6 marriages behind you, a son to inherit your throne, a church that answers only to you, and you trust almost no one left in the building. January 1547. You are 55 years old and rotting from the inside. The leg wound, the weight, decades of excess finally collecting on their debt all at once. No one dares tell you you're dying. By your own law, predicting or discussing the king's death is treason. So you lie there for days, surrounded by physicians and advisors too afraid of your own statue to say the one true thing you most need to hear. Only at the very end does someone finally risk it, quietly telling you death is near, so you can make your peace with God. You die in the early hours of January 28, 1547. Your son Edward is 9 years old and about to inherit a throne, a debt, and a religious civil war you personally started. You were the spare who was never supposed to rule. And by the end, you had bent an entire nation around one single, obsessive question. What happens when a king refuses to accept the word no? 6 wives, 2 executions, 1 broken church. Countless men who died for disagreeing with you at the wrong moment. All of it, in some way, in service of that one question. Your daughter Elizabeth, the one you barely acknowledged, born from the marriage that cost a woman her head, will go on to rule longer and more successfully than you ever did. History remembers the crown, the 6 wives, the church you built out of your own stubbornness. It remembers less often the 10-year-old boy who was never meant to hold any of it, and who spent the rest of his life terrified of being told no again. This has been your life as every rank of Henry VIII. If you made it to the end, subscribe, because next time, you're not born a king,